Louis Braille, the inventor of the alphabet for the blind, was himself a blind person. All over the world, the visually impaired persons vowed to Louis Braille, who invented the system of reading and writing for them. He was born on the 4th January 1809 at village Couperet, 26 miles southeast of Paris. Louis' father, Manager Braille, was a man of good temperament and industrious and well known for his skill and honesty. He was a harness maker in his village. He had a small shop next to the family house. His father was one of the best harness makers in the area. Mr. Braille also made reins, saddles, and collars for the villagers' horses. He cut strips for leather and punched holes in the leather with sharp tools. The little Louis used to accompany his father and sat in the shop for hours. He loved the smell of rich, warm leather. He watched his father's work attentively. Louis had been warned that he was too young to play with the tools in the shop. At the age of 3 in 1812, the small Louis Braille desired to make a harness on his own. That day, his father stepped outside the shop to help a customer. Louis thought he would try to punch a hole in a piece of leather just like his father did. He grabbed the tool and tried to push it through the leather. He did not have the strength of his father. He tried again, pushing harder. The tool slipped from his hand and flew up into his left eye. Louis screamed with pain. His parents, 2 sisters, and a brother ran to help him. They put a cloth over his eye. There was no hospital in his village. The closest doctor was very far away. They took Louis to a woman in the village who used herbal medicines to treat injuries and sickness. She dipped a cloth bandage in a wet herbal solution and placed it on Louis' eye. But his injured eyes became infected and the infection spread to his other eye. Within a short time, Louis lost sight in both eyes and he was permanently blind. Mr. Braille, his father, carved a small wooden cane for Louis to help the boy feel things that were ahead of him when he walked. When Louis was 6, a new priest came to town. The priest gave Louis lessons for a year, but Louis wanted to go to the village school with other children. So the village boy agreed to pick him up each morning and lead him to school. Louis listened to the teacher and memorized what he heard. Even though he could not read and write, he was the best student in the class. He studied there for 3 years. At times, Louis was frustrated because he could not read or write. The priest and the principal thought Louis would do better in a school for the blind students. There was only one school like this in France called the Royal Institute for Blind Youth. It was in Paris, 25 miles away from his village. Louis' parents were reluctant to let him go away from home. He was only 10 years old and the school was very expensive. The priest persuaded his parents to send him to the school. The institution for the blind where Louis was educated was founded by Manager Valentin Harvey, who was the junior official in French Foreign Office in 1784. When Louis Braille was admitted on February 15, 1819, the school had 60 boys on the roll. Louis was probably the youngest of all. The school was in a rundown old building. It was damp and dark and the students were given very little food. After his classes, Louis learned to play the cello and the piano. He could not read music, but he memorized the notes. Louis was looking forward to learning to read. Unfortunately, there were very few books available for blind students. They were printed on heavy waxed paper. The letters were formed by pressing the paper onto pieces of lead that were shaped like letters of alphabet. This process was called embossing. The books were very heavy. One sentence could take up a whole page. Louis learned to run his fingers over the pages so that he could feel each letter. It took a long time to read this way. By the time he got to the end of the sentence, he would forget the words at the beginning. According to Dr. Pignier, principal of the institution, Louis Braille was one of the outstanding pupils of the institution. He further wrote about him that he was alert, industrious, and imaginative, with a remarkable sense of logic and unusually deep power of concentration. He won a number of prizes in several subjects. The principal had preserved the list of prizes which Louis won each year from 1821 to 1828. His name appears on the prize list for one or other, sometimes for several subjects like knitting, slipper making, grammar, history, geography, arithmetic, rhetoric, amplification, general grammar, logic, algebra, and geometry. This list of subjects proves that Louis Braille had versatile talents. Louis Braille soon attracted the attention of his teachers and of directors of the school. They expressed that we have seen that Louis Braille earned name and fame in the institute as a student. In fact, when he was a student, he was asked by the principal to pass on to juniors the skills which he had acquired during the school years. As a result, the authorities of the institution promoted him to a rank of tutor on the 8th August 1828. No doubt, this post was of significance, but it also opened the doors of further employment to Louis Braille. Louis' performance as a tutor was so excellent that he was one of the first to be promoted as a teacher in the school. He took keen interest in his profession. He taught grammar, history, geography, arithmetic, and algebra. His students were pleased with his selfless and sincere behavior. At the age of 19, he was appointed instructor in his school. He intended that his people should be in a position to have their own livelihood and that they should not be dependent on the family. He devoted his time fully to the institution and encouraged the boys to shape their own career. He taught them to keep patience and concentrate on their studies. In course of teaching the boys, Braille felt that the existing system of teaching the blind and the alphabet were defective. He took a vow to invent a new system for the reading and writing for the blind, which would be easier to learn. He began to spend every spare moment in trying to invent a new alphabet code, a new method of writing that would open the doors for the blind. He thought of it day and night, but the problem remained unsolved. When Louis was in school, a retired French army captain, Charles Barbier, came to visit the Royal Institute for the Blind Youth. He had invented a way for soldiers to send messages to each other at night without needing light or having to talk. If they had to use light or make noise, the enemy could spot the soldiers and shoot at them. With a pointer tool, the captain punched dots and dashes into heavy paper. The dots and dashes represented different sounds. These marks were combined to form words and could be read without light or sound. But the soldiers found it too difficult to use. The captain thought blind students might be able to use it for their reading, and he called it the night writing. The students tried to read some of the messages, but they also found the system complicated to learn and difficult to use. Many dots were required to represent a single word. Still, it took up less space than existing process of embossing actual letters from the alphabet. The institution adapted this system for some time. It was confusing and there was no proper provision for spelling and punctuation. It consisted of 12 dots. Louis Braille was fascinated by the Barbier's method and he decided to reduce the number of dots. He felt that slow and halting reading would be replaced by speed and ease. Louis Braille discarded his dashes and concentrated on the dots. He worked very hard for months, punching dots into papers with a sharp tool called stylus. Louis thought that this new code should be simple and it must represent letters rather than sounds. He mentioned in his diary, I am blind, I can't see. If my eyes will not feel about men and events, ideas and doctrines, I must find another way. After a long struggle, Louis discovered the 6-dot embossed system which opened the door of knowledge to the visually impaired persons. Really, his invention is a strange one. It is, of course, a great invention and a great boon. It is simple and clear. Any blind man can learn it without much difficulty. The code is based on Braille cell. It consists of 6 dots, 2 across and 3 down. Now everything can be read with the fingertips. The system of raised dots that can be read with the fingers by people who are blind or who have low vision. Teachers, parents and others who are not visually impaired ordinarily read Braille with their eyes. Braille is not a language, rather it is a code by which many languages such as English, Spanish, Arabic, Chinese, Indian and dozens of others may be written and read. Braille is used by thousands of people all over the world in their native languages and provides a means of literacy for all. Braille symbols are formed within units of space known as Braille cells. A full Braille cell consists of 6 raised dots arranged in 2 parallel rows, each having 3 dots. The 6 dots in a cell that look like this. The dot positions are identified numbers from 1 through 6. 64 combinations are possible using one or more of these 6 dots. A single cell can be used to represent an alphabet, number, punctuation mark or even a whole word. Did not get support in his lifetime. His health grew worse and several times he went home to Coupre to rest. He worked on writing books and music in his dot system. He died in Paris in 1852. 2 years later, the French government approved the dot system. It was called Braille after Louis' last name. At the school, Braille's friends and former students energetically evolved new ways of working with the code. The Braille system spread to Switzerland. In 1878, the World Congress for the Blind voted to make Braille system of reading and writing for all blind people worldwide. With the help of United Nations, Braille has been adapted to almost all known languages. When India gained independence, 11 Braille scripts were in use in different parts of the country and for different languages. By 1951, a single national standard has been settled on Bharati Braille, which has been adapted by Sri Lanka, Nepal and Bangladesh. A later Braille reader, Helen Keller, wrote, Braille has been a most precious aid to me in many ways. It made my going to college possible. It was the only method by which I could take notes of lectures. All my examination papers were copied for me in this system. I use Braille as a spider uses its web to catch thoughts that flit across my mind for speeches, messages and manuscripts. Louis Braille's writing system eventually spread throughout the world. Braille has been adapted to nearly every language on earth and remains a major medium of literacy for blind people every year. Ultimately, his invention got victory over all the existing systems of reading and writing for the blind. Now, all over the world, the Braille system prevails. His wonderful invention revolutionized education of the blind through a splendid discovery of an embossed in Braille. Some are created by typing the words on a computer that translates them into Braille. They are then transferred into paper or metal plates for use on a press. Increased technology has aided Braille readers in their methods of Braille production as well. Besides using a slate and stylus or a Braille typewriter, blind people too can use Braille translation software with a personal computer to create Braille for embossing. In the 1970s, Braille translation software, although still in its infancy, started to become more common, and by the early 1980s, Braille embossers were being used by large organizations. A Braille embosser is a printer that prints Braille cells. Using Braille translation software, a document can be embossed as Braille, which is efficient and cost effective. Embossers provided an easier way to make multiple copies. Electronic Braille displays had started to arrive. Electronic Braille is provided using an electronic Braille display. They are also known as paperless, soft or refreshable Braille displays. Braille display device is placed under a computer keyboard and enables the user to read what is on the computer screen by touching Braille. In the late 1980s, speech output became possible on personal computers but was far from commonplace. Blind people with access to this technology could check and edit their own typing and could share their work by printing it out onto a paper. Beginning in the 1990s, the further development of personal computer and the rise of internet began changing the nature of interaction of print and Braille and drastically increasing blind people's access to written information. Today, all kinds of print origin documents are more directly available to Braille readers. Now, with various combinations of internet media, speech output, Braille displays, Braille translation software and Braille embossers, blind people can read in a matter of moments. Today, blind people can communicate in writing with classmates and co-workers with the greatest of ease via email, text message, social media sites, or by simply passing files back and forth using a variety of methods. With the advent of computers' preparation of Braille, documents have been rendered easy and flexible. Bharati Braille may also be transcribed using computer programs by typing in the text in the vernacular. Whether through software translators or direct entry, Braille turned out to be extraordinarily well suited to computer assisted production due to its elegance and efficiency. Braille displays for navigating and reading computer text in real time have become increasingly affordable and reliable as well. The computer age created unprecedented and continuing explosion in the amount of Braille published and read in nearly every country throughout the world. Louis Braille got success in his mission in inventing the 6 dots in 1832. His invention is immortal as other inventions are. Louis Braille's house in Coupray, France is now a museum. On the wall of the plaque says that Louis Braille was born in the house and that he invented the system of writing in raised dots for the blind. It also says he opened the doors of knowledge to all those who cannot see.